Argentina's farms, we all know them, right? Famous for those vast, fertile plains. But today, they're at a huge crossroads, caught between an incredible technological future and some really harsh economic realities. So let's break down this fascinating clash. And this isn't some slow, gradual shift we're talking about. This quote really nails it. It's a fundamental turning point for one of the world's great agricultural powerhouses. Okay, so picture this. Path number one, a full-blown farming revolution, where farms are managed with pinpoint precision. We're talking satellites and AI predicting crop yields and drones spotting pests before they can even think about doing damage. It's a vision of hyper-efficient, data-driven, sustainable agriculture. But, and this is a huge but, there's the other path. And it all boils down to one simple, massive question. All this amazing technology costs money, a lot of it. And that, right there, is the heart of the conflict. All right, so before we get into the challenges, let's explore the cool stuff. Let's look at the incredible high-tech harvest that's already taking root in Argentina. To really get what's at stake, you have to appreciate the sheer scale here. Argentina isn't just a farming nation, it's a global heavyweight. I mean, its agriculture sector makes up a tenth of the entire country's GDP. It's fueled by massive production of soybeans, corn, and of course, that world-famous beef.
And that whole farm of the future idea, it's not science fiction anymore. It is happening right now. Farmers are literally using satellites to check crop health from space and AI to predict diseases. You've got IoT devices giving real-time data on water levels, and they're even using blockchain to make supply chains totally transparent.
But that vision of the future, well, it comes with a pretty staggering price tag. So check this out. By 2026, investments in Argentina's AgTech scene are expected to hit $300 million. Now that sounds like a lot of money, and it is. It's a sign of some serious momentum. But to really understand the scale of the challenge, we need a little more context. Now compare that $300 million to this number, $99 billion. That is the estimated financing gap for key development sectors across Latin America and the Caribbean every single year. That's the money they need annually for everything from food systems to energy to digitalization. So, what on earth is a financing gap? Well, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's this giant chasm between the money a country needs to thrive and the money it actually has. And this isn't just about paying for drones on a farm, you know? This gap hits funding for hospitals, schools, roads, the whole shebang. And that's why paying for that high-tech future is so incredibly tough. Okay, so why is this gap so huge? Let's break down the main hurdles that make getting investment so tricky in the region. So here's problem number one. On average, governments in Latin America and the Caribbean collect just over 21% of their GDP in taxes. Now compare that to the OECD average of 34%. That is a massive difference in the resources they have on hand for public investment. And if we dig into where that tax money actually comes from, we see the system leans really heavily on taxes on goods and services, and on corporations. There's a lot less reliance on personal income tax compared to other developed countries, and that limits the government's ability to fund big, ambitious projects. Now, when we talk about corporate taxes, the official rate, the sticker price, doesn't tell you the whole story. To understand the real cost for a business, you have to look at the out-the-door price. And that's what this is, the effective average tax rate. It accounts for all the deductions and allowances. And here's the kicker. The real tax burden on a new investment project is actually higher in the region than the OECD average. For a country like Argentina, it's among the highest, which, as you can imagine, can be a major red flag for investors. So, to attract investment, countries use tax incentives. But not all incentives are created equal. The most common kind in the region are income-based, things like tax holidays. The problem is they're expensive, and a lot of the time they just reward a company for an investment it was going to make anyway. A smarter approach is expenditure-based incentives, which give credits for new spending and directly encourage the kind of fresh investment that's so desperately needed. So, what's the solution to all this? Well, the path forward requires rethinking not just incentives and money, but also something way more fundamental: trust. So let me ask you a question, and it gets right to the heart of this whole public trust thing. How people answer this reveals a lot about their relationship with their government. This is what we call tax morale. Across the region, about 63% of people say tax evasion is never justifiable. But in Argentina, that number drops to 55%. And what's even more concerning is that this feeling has been getting weaker over time.
And that dip in tax morale is directly connected to this next question. Are people seeing a return on their investment in the state?
The answer, for most people, is a resounding no. Get this, less than a quarter of citizens in the region feel like they get fair value in public services for the taxes they pay. This is a breakdown in the fiscal contract, that basic trust that we pay taxes in exchange for a functioning society. When that trust erodes, everything gets harder.
But there is a path forward. First, design smarter, more efficient tax incentives that actually drive new investment. Second, and this is the big one, rebuild public trust through transparency and by delivering better public services. And third, use sustainability as a magnet for investment, tapping into that huge global demand for green and ethical products.
Which brings us right back to where we started. Argentina has the land, the people, and the access to technology to create a truly revolutionary agricultural future. The question is whether it can solve the deep-seated economic challenges that threaten to keep that incredible future just out of reach.